Fallout 4 is full of hidden locations that also hide their own tragic stories, and unless you take a moment and observe the environment, chances are that you might miss these entirely. In this guide, I am going to go through hidden locations and their hidden stories that you might have missed. Hi, I'm Mo and I'm trapped in Fallout. For our first location, we will need to head to Bunker Hill, which is directly northeast of Diamond City, all the way across the river. Once you make it to Bunker Hill, from here you will need to first head south, and as you do that you will come across this bridge right over here. When you get to the bridge from here, head east, so you should be heading left, and as you do that, if you look to your left again, you should see a small opening, and as you go into this opening you should see a series of houses. The one that we are interested in is this abandoned house right over here that has some Halloween decorations set up for it. As you enter the house, you will see, for its namesake, it is certainly abandoned, well, up to a point anyway. The bit we are interested in is this holotape right over here that sits on the kitchen countertop, titled Control Subjects Recording 1 out of 3. When playing this holotape, you will listen to the vocal log playback of a research assistant called Peters, and Peters goes on to say how she is suffering from pretty bad symptoms, most likely induced by high radiation, but she is hopeful because she goes on to also say that she is going to take a serum after the 6th day has passed, in the hopes that taking the serum will resolve these symptoms. Now, as you make your way to the first floor, if you then enter the bedroom, on top of the side cabinet, you will find the second recording of Peter's log entries. When listening to this one, you will observe that after the 6th day had passed, her symptoms didn't get any better. In fact, she basically got much worse after that. Now, as you travel to the very top, you will find yourself in front of a door that appears to be locked with an advanced lock. So we will need to open it. When you open the door and go inside, the first thing you will see is a picture of Todd Howard, but we've covered that in a previous guide. The other bit you will notice is a feral ghoul, or specifically a glowing one, which is likely to be a putrid one based on your character level. Now, the one we're interested in now to try and piece together what happened in this abandoned house is the last log entry right over here. Now, when you play this last log entry, you find out that Peters, again, the research assistant, basically self-volunteered for this experiment to test the serum in the hopes that the serum would cure radiation issues that one occurs when exposed to radiation. Sadly, as you can see, that didn't really work. This glowing one is most likely to be Peters, although that isn't 100% confirmed. And I suppose the other thing that is confirmed to a degree is that this door was most likely locked by Peters, and this probably is Peters in her last moments. And this is probably the story of the abandoned house. But again, leave your thoughts in the comments below, telling me what you think happened in the abandoned house. And hey, if you made it this far into the guide, then please do consider liking this video, as that truly and really helps the channel out. Also, feel free to leave a comment about any location that you have visited where the story of that location left an impression on you. You never know, it may make it into my next hidden guide. For our next location, which isn't a hidden location, but there is a story within this location, we will need to head to West Everett's estate, which is directly north of Bunker Hill. Now, when you get here, from the fast travel point, or if you like, from the very northern side of the town, just travel directly south, and as you do that, eventually you should get to what I would say is the center of this small town right over here, where you see these cauldrons being hoisted up from these cranes. From here, go west, and as you go west, you should see a makeshift shed, and inside this shed you will see an entrance to a bunker. When entering the bunker, you will notice a couple of interesting things immediately to your right, such as this hazmat suit, some apparel items, and so on. But the bit we are interested in is Wayne's terminal right over here. The first one titled Made It Home. In this log entry, you find that this particular log was made 3 days after the bombs had fell. This was written by Wayne, where he goes to describe that he made it back into his town of West Everett's estate with his 2 sons. However, it also goes on to say that his wife Bonnie hadn't made it through. When you then read the second log entry titled Bonnie, this log was written 2 weeks after the first log entry, and again, in this log, you find that Bonnie still hadn't made it through when reading the third log entry titled Neighbors. In this log entry, Wayne goes to describe how he visited one of his neighbors called Ron, and when he did so, he found that Ron basically went a little bit mad due to the radiation that had occurred on the surface, and because of this, Ron pulls a gun on Wayne. But it was at that point that one of Wayne's other neighbors called Lance made it to his rescue and stopped Ron from going ahead with the action. So, reading these log entries on Wayne's terminal, you find out how Wayne and his children made it back into West Everett estate, and you find out how Wayne interacted with his neighbors Ron and Lance. But we can find out a little bit more about what happened in this town by visiting Lance's house, which we will do right now. When you exit the bunker from here, just head directly northeast. And as we do that, notice that this town is populated with super mutants that will become important after a little bit. Now, when you get to this house here, open the door, but be warned, I think there's a grenade or a mine or somewhere around here. The bit we want to access is this terminal here called Lance's terminal, which is again locked with an advanced lock. Once you gain access to Lance's terminal, go inside and look at the logs and start with the home logs. In this log, you will basically learn about Lance and the fact that he basically made it back home when the bombs fell. He didn't make it back home instantly, it took him a while to get back home, but this sort of feeds into the lore of the town. When you then read the second log, The Walls, you learn that Wayne and Lance basically built the walls of this town. So the fact that West Everett Estate is a fortified town with all these walls and makeshift trucks that have been stolen from nearby locations, let's just say it was actually Wayne and Lance that built the walls of this town. So that gives you a little bit more insight into what happened. Now the interesting bit are these 2 last logs to tell you what the fate of the town basically was. When you read this log called Leon, you learn that Lance has a brother, or let's just say had a brother called Leon. When reading this log, you learn that Lance and Leon basically went on a scouting trip and they encountered some raiders, a group of 12 men to be specific. Now Lance, being the smart man, he hid, but Leon decided to call out to these 12 men because he recognized one of these 12 men. And without thinking about it, he basically told these 12 men all about West Everett Estates and everything there is to tell about them. Now, these 12 men, in their kindness at the moment, decided that they would let Leon and Lance go. But what actually happened when we read the last log is that these 12 men turned out to be pretty bad and rough raiders, and they showed up at the settlement. And when they showed up at the settlement, they basically took out Lance because he actually tried to stand his ground, and they allowed Leon to join their group. So basically the fate of this town is such that once Lance and Leon went out and came back, because of a silly decision that Leon decided to make, they were overrun with raiders and they couldn't really do anything about it. We don't really know the fate of Wayne and his children, but we do know what happened to Lance and Leon. Now, when you walk around this town and you see these raiders, you do get the idea that these raiders may not have just been, let's just say, lunch snacks for these super mutants. They might have actually been here for a while, and these super mutants might have just moved in recently. But it just goes to show the harshness of the Commonwealth, particularly if you don't make any smart decisions. Thank you so much for making it this far into the guide, and if you enjoyed it, then please make sure to press the like button, as that really helps the channel out, and leave a comment in the comment section of this video sharing your thoughts on the video. And given that you have made it this far, click on the video you see on the screen right now, as I think you will enjoy watching this one too. Hi, I'm Mo, and I'm still trapped in Fallout.